The tellers of story have an untold story about themselves. On this first day of the month, however, we choose to give the storyteller priority. The Fourth Estate members decry of infiltration in the industry and a breach on the freedom of press. Some are claiming that it's because the space is being led by quacks. Every journalist should be trained and governed by the media ethics that have slowly begun to lose meaning. We therefore choose to ask you tonight, should untrained persons go on air and practice journalism? Tonight on the panel, we are joined by Wycliffe Buhere, an industrial liaison officer and principal lecturer at the Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, Dr. Judith Olo, an advocate of the High Court and human rights expert, and Sami Muraya, project manager at Voice for Women and Girls' Rights. You, of course, our fourth panelist. Send in your feedback, comments through our SMS line 111 or on our social media handles at Switch TV Kenya or at Lincoln Wambogo. Also on our WhatsApp number 078593 0785939529, and to keep this show as interactive as possible, remember to use the hashtag tipping point. My name is Lincoln Wambogo. Our sign language interpreters tonight are Michael Matthew and Teresia Oshira. But first, we start the show with this bite by the moral cop, KFCB boss Ezekiel Mutua, on media freedom, calling on the media to firmly play its role of agenda setting in the country. Mutua, who was speaking to this station, said that the media plays an important role in shaping opinions and should not be hijacked by quacks who masquerade as journalists. Take a look.
We had a long conversation here with the government spokesman on the same issues, and we have agreed that we bring together the CEOs through the government spokesman's office in the relevant sectors, Communications Authority of Kenya, Media Council, myself, and others, to have a conversation as CEOs. Because when the president, who is the CEO of this country, speaks, when he expresses concern about where the country is going, it is us who should have sleepless nights, who should stay awake at night thinking, how do we implement the vision of the president to live a more united country, to live a more cohesive society? And we have agreed to take up that challenge. We are so grateful that CS Matiang'i is supporting us, CS Musheru is supporting us, CS Kobi is supporting us, a lot of government officials. And we have discussed here, how do we even incorporate the Council of Elders? How do we incorporate religious leaders? How do we incorporate role models who can help our young people to understand life is not just about fame and celebrity status and likes and shares on Facebook. Life is about the inner you, and what you do when nobody's watching. If you're able to do the right thing, if you're able to say no, even when there's nobody to hold a stick and to punish you, then you are a great citizen. And we believe we will achieve that goal.
On our question of the day, should untrained persons go on air and practice journalism? Should untrained persons go on air and practice journalism? SMSs on 111 at Switch TV Kenya at Lincoln Wambogo, and use the hashtag tipping point to make this conversation as interesting as possible. Maybe we can start with you, Buhere, because you're a lecturer and you've been a lecturer for many years. You lectured me, you lectured my boss, Frederick Mutiriri. I mean, is journalism practice under siege?
It is. Because
it is under siege?
Just like any other profession, one must train. You would be surprised if we said any lawyer, anybody, we do understand law, we can interpret law, but you cannot go to court, you cannot represent anyone if you have not gone to Kenya School of Law, if you have never gone to University of Nairobi or Moi University or wherever, then finished up with Kenya School of Law. We would also wish to have journalism to be the same way we would have engineers, we would have Law Society of Kenya, and KUJ should actually come in and assist us to be able to know those who are practicing journalism must have been trained and must have been registered by KUJ.
KUJ?
Yes.
MCK?
MCK should also come in. Media Council of Kenya should come in because, of course, being to moderate, it must come in. And of course, we have Communications Authority of Kenya. All those should be able to come in to assist us be able to run this industry very well. Otherwise, we are running towards the wrong direction. Media can make or break. So, are we going to make or break? It's very important to begin to know where do we start. We now have to come to ourselves and begin to know where do we go after what we have seen happening in the media industry.
Is the media industry taking shape or breaking?
I want to say that by and large it is taking shape, but to an extent there's the element that is breaking, and it is breaking as a result of what my colleagues are talking about, that we have untrained professionals. I want to say that on one hand, one could have talent, but that talent needs to be molded in a certain way. I want to believe also that the churning of news is a very, very important part and parcel of this society, and therefore we must have the highest level of professionalism while doing that.
Sami, you have been practicing journalism for a very long time. When did the wind start hitting us?
Well, the wind did not start hitting us the other day. It's been hitting us for a very long time. But allow me to be the devil's advocate, because we cannot just have people on a panel who are just going to go one direction. Let me be that devil's advocate, because I remember Buhere and I worked at KBC together. I joined KBC in the year 2000. And when I joined KBC, I was still in college. And I joined without a certificate as an artist. But that does not necessarily mean I did not follow through to get my papers to be where I am today. And so I will just say, we can sit here, talk about quacks, but then the biggest challenge that we are encountering as the media at the moment is the fact that it is commercial. Everyone who owns a media house wants to make money. So if the only way for them to make money is to go to a certain brand, then the question we should be asking ourselves as practitioners within the industry, as people who've been trained, the question should be, what should we do? Are we supposed to start teaching presentation, for example, at Kenya Institute of Mass Communication? That should be the direction we should be taking. Should we be more serious about acting classes? Should we just try and formalize all these skills that people have, so that at the end of the day we can come back and say, yes, it's not a talent that somebody picks from the streets. It is a talent that we realize, and that's where I think CBC is even headed. If we just go to the education system itself, nurturing people's talents and trying to actually formalize that talent, make it something that is not just a skill, but something that you get a certificate out of, and so that by the time we start criticizing, we can criticize from a point of view where the systems actually accept that yes, there is talent, but two, there is allowing this talent to grow within institutions.
But I think it's very important to get to know that journalism is very wide. Where I come from in my academia, basically we train various type of journalists. You could be a photojournalist. You could be this person running out with ENG, electronic news gathering equipment. You go pick news, bring it to the editors. You edit the news and go on air. We have those who will come with the writing pad, those who will come with a typewriter, laptop, and do the news and take it to the newsroom and process it. So it's very important to get to know where we are. And of course, you talked about presenters. To be a presenter, sometimes it's a talent, but then you need to work on that talent and make sure that you are living within the norms of the practice when you are being a presenter. Now, you talked about KBC and many other days. Remember the issues of comedy. Comedians remain to do comedy.
True.
Television journalists remain to be television journalists. But at some point, we had comedians now running from comedy, Studio B, now going on to the breakfast show. That is where the rain started beating us. Let us have comedians do their reality shows, and let's have trained journalists stay in the newsroom, go for assignments, bring back the assignment, work it with the editors, and go near or go to press.
Judith,
I want to agree with him to the extent that he's saying that there's need for training on technical or rather presentation skills. But I want to say that it has to be more than just presentation, because I want to believe that news, in Kenya especially, people listen a lot to TV and radio. It influences them a lot. And so the content, just how you present the content, is very important, other than just the presentation skills. You could have been brought for a case of say, murder. How do you want to relate to the people, right? We have a situation where these things are sensationalized. And when they're sensationalized, everyone wants to be a star, because they know if they do this, they're going to appear on TV. So that's why I say that there's really need for more than presentational skills. They should have that ethical perspective. They should have actually in-depth knowledge of what journalism is about, as opposed to just being
back
able
to
to
training
present.
of journalists. Where did we start training journalists in this country?
Exactly.
Remember, at some point, we wanted to Africanize our broadcasting stations.
How?
when we took over, when we became independent.
Yes.
Remember, everything was being run by Mzungu. So we wanted to Africanize our broadcasting stations.
Yes.
That's why KMC began training engineering school.
Yes.
To train would be Fundi wa Mitambo. Then later on, we came in to train journalists. And of course, again, Kenya's School of Journalism, University of Nairobi, began training journalists in 1980. Why were they training people who already have a first degree? Because they are training people who already have a trade. You come over, you take 1 year diploma, and you go and enhance journalistic skills within that particular area. If you're an engineer, you are a lawyer like yourself, you are a businessman, or you're an economist, then you will be able to practice journalism based on your areas of interest. It's happening all over the world. Look at the best practices all over the world.
Buhari, somebody's asking a question. Should untrained persons go on there and practice journalism?
You cannot do that because you have a skill, you have a talent, but then that's why we always have what you call in-service. We have many stations who bring some of their journalists, so to speak, or presenters for say 6 months or 9 months training on specific aspect of presentation. Yeah, you get the point. And that's why even as Kenya for Mass Communication, we do have what you call postgraduate diploma in mass communication. We have lawyers who are coming in. We have engineers. We have people who have done political science. They want to enhance their writing skills. They want to enhance their presentation skills in their particular area of interest.
In fact, that's what I really wanted to allude to.
Let's go to credentials first. Credentials and qualifications. Would you brand a presenter who practices without credentials a quack?
Truth of the matter is that person is not a journalist. Yeah. So I would not call them a quack because that would be generalizing. The reason why I'm saying so is because just like Buhari has said, in fact, I wanted to talk about media houses that actually take that extra mile. So fine, you've hired a talent. Once you hire that talent, why don't you take this talent to a journalism school to at least learn the basics?
Should it be that way?
I think so. I want to agree. I'll give you the example of the Law Society of Kenya, for instance. You cannot practice without a valid practice certificate. And how do you get a practice certificate? By going to the Kenya School of Law. We call each other learned friends because we feel like we have achieved that status of having gone to Kenya School of Law, and therefore we are comrades, even if someone was as new as having been sworn in yesterday. So it is very important that people go through that process just so that you can sieve out or shape them into some form of, so that they know the basics. Because like I said earlier, the influence that media has in this country is very big. And while a lawyer can only influence 1 or 2 of their clients, the number of people that you can influence as a media person is so much, so that one mistake that you make will have a big rippling effect that your media house cannot recover from, that your society cannot recover from. And therefore, it is too big a risk, if you ask me.
In fact, no.
Too
I
big
just
a
need
risk.
to say something, Lincoln, please, kindly.
Let me just say what
I
Sammy said. And you tend to agree with what Sammy said, that you can first be hired and then you're trained.
There's something you call pupillage. At what point do you call it pupillage?
We call it pupillage when you have gone to Kenya School of Law,
Yes.
but you have not been admitted to
You've
the
been
bar.
attached to a
But
particular
during
facility.
that time,
Yes,
you
yes.
cannot present a client in court.
In court, exactly.
Yes.
So what I'm saying here, I'm not saying that you let a new, I don't want to call them quacks, for lack of a better word, to be here. Like I have said, they have a big influence, and one mistake they make will cost a ripple effect in the society. As a result of which, I say that they need to have the training before they can go on air by themselves.
They need to have the training before they can go on.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's
Now,
too big a risk.
There's
that's
something
not
I needed
the
to
case,
come to. That's not the case. It's true. And I will still come back to my point. Fine. This person has already been hired. Okay? It's not like I am a trained journalist myself.
Yes.
I am not trying to support them because I am not trained. Let's first make that very clear. But I'm saying this person has already been hired. Fine. Because when the owner of that media house looked at the sales, looked at what this person is bringing to that station, what they're looking at that particular point is money. Why are you setting up a media house in this country? Let's stop lying to ourselves that it's all about giving people news out there. It's about educate, entertain, and inform. It's Buhere. It's no longer about that.
But they're the same people who are making mistakes out there.
And I agree. But then, in fact, I want to tell you where we went wrong. I liked the fact that you started by saying back in the 80s and early 90s, because that's the system I went through. You had to start from KMC before you even went to any other university to go do a journalism course.
Sure.
So the moment we started having media schools propping up next to a driving school, that is where we went wrong. And all these people are accepted. They've been given all the accreditation. They've been given all the certification that they need to teach journalism.
Mr.
That is why it
I've
started
been
raining,
wondering.
hitting us.
I've been wondering, why would say an engineering school begin to train journalists? At some point,
A driving
media,
school training journalists.
At some point, media became lucrative for young people, show business. It became lucrative, and every young person coming from high school wants to go and be a journalist, just like you are here. So that is where we had an issue, and even the parallel programs that began in various universities, most of them were admitting journalists, because it was basically an in thing. If you are not doing something else, you are doing journalism, because you wanted to become you wanted to become Lincoln. And so that's where we have a problem. Otherwise, I want to believe that journalists must be trained, and that's why we insist on language. We insist on language. English, Kiswahili, and if you have any other foreign language, so to speak, so be it.
Can I please read some of the feedback? But it's sad that people in Kenya today get jobs for just being famous, and that's what we are teaching our children. Just get famous, don't go to school. Class, currently, the rate of career switching when a passion has been discovered is high, and journalism as a career is not an exception. Someone is saying, hashtag tipping point, special learning on the rise in the millennial and Generation Z. Journalism is a skill that can be practiced with or without papers. Now we take a short commercial break. The conversation continues shortly. Welcome back. You're watching Tipping Point. I'm Lincoln Mbogo. Should untrained persons go on air and practice journalism? Should untrained persons go on air and practice journalism? SMSs on 111 at Switch TV Kenya at Lincoln Mbogo. Use the hashtag Tipping Point and make this conversation as interactive as possible. Now, gentlemen, media owners are here, and one. Bishop D. Kyogora Magambo is saying there is something the audience is yearning for, and these quacks are giving it, while the professional journalist is shying off. It's dangerous to answer a question none is asking while ignoring the obvious. His 2 cents. What do you think, Buhari?
First and foremost, I wish to say that we as media schools, we train as per the curriculum, we train as per the requirements. We even take them through media law and ethics. And we even use practicing lawyers like her to come over and take these learners, trainees through the program. But you do know that the moment you leave school, you go to the media house, and every media house have their own policy, have their own orientation. So you arrive there and you must dance to the tune, so to speak, of the media owners. The media houses. So that is where the problem begins. Of course, you have to have the brand, and of course, every media house have their own trajectory or own signature of some sort, and they must live by it. And they may attract listenership, may attract audience or readership based on their brand. We even have. We are now doing it in Sheng. We didn't do Sheng in school. We did Kiswahili, and we always ask for Kiswahili and English. But when they go out there, they're doing vernacular, they're doing Kikuyu, they're doing Kiluhia.
Should this curriculum change?
Well, truth of the matter is, just looking at the way things are, at the generations, we need to be a bit more flexible with the curriculum. And 2, there's something else that we need to discuss, and that's the issue of specialization. The other problem that we're having in most of our journalism schools is we stopped specializing. And the same, in fact, I can even speak about KMC because I was there the other day. I was asking about specialized courses, and I can tell you from the ones that we had in the 90s to now, that has changed. So do not complain about quacks when even you yourselves are reducing the lessons that you're teaching in school, are reducing the amount of time that you're spending on your journalism students. So let's complain when we have everything in place, when we are still specializing, because I can tell you within the industry, we talk about it every day. We just had a meeting the other day with the Kenya Media Sector Working Group, and the issue that was being discussed was training institutions producing half-baked students. So and with the whole issue of convergence, let's also talk about that animal called convergence at the moment, where you expect everyone to walk into a media house and be able to do everything, to do business, to do science stories, to be able to do sports. Again, that's a very big problem where and
of
you
course,
will understand.
Yes, yeah, we do understand, and of course, you also you talked about compacting much of the units we have, so that these days we are now training broadcast journalists. There's no media house that will employ someone just to work with a writing pad and with a cameraman behind and somebody to be able to present alongside. You must be able to carry that TNG. You must be able to know how then you can be able to have that news done. You must know how to can edit that video, send it to the studio, and go on air immediately. Otherwise, you just come with writing skills alone without having camera techniques. ENG, you may not be hired immediately.
Judith, do you think the media, print media, electronic media, do you think they were prepared, mainstream media, do you think mainstream media was prepared for social media? Or did social media just catch mainstream media, off guard?
I think it caught them off guard, and now they're trying to run after it to reintegrate or sort of catch up. And sometimes you find that news has already broken up on social media, and so they're really playing catch up. And while they're doing that, news as it breaks in social media, it has no boundaries. Those people are not trained. They're just saying things the way they have found. In fact, some of them, if it's an accident scene, for example, you find someone has displayed a dead body, and this is a relative of someone. You get? So I want to say that they're really trying to play catch up, and there's need to really professionalize how they do it. But I also want to come back to a point that Muriah raised when he was talking about professionalism and courses being picked, or people coming from college being half-baked. I want to say that one of the ways of dealing with that perhaps is to ensure that there's continuous update of your information. For example, in the Law Society of Kenya, every year someone has to earn certain points by attending CPD, continuous practice or continuous development, so that you're updating yourself with the new kind of practices or new ideas or new laws that have been passed in a particular area. So that makes sure that you're always fresh and you're always up to date with the things that are happening around the world. Yeah. But also finally, please, there's someone who raised a point about quacks, for lack of a better word, giving us something that we want to hear. And this is common. These days you find that radio stations, especially in the morning when people are going to work, jam time, they have come up with a certain strategy of really I don't know how to describe those kind of programs. Yes, yeah. Some of them are really out, completely out. You cannot even listen to them when you have kids, and it is a morning show. Some of them, the professionalism with which they're presented, the personal interest of the presentees or presenters come out, and it's really not good. So now, I think there's something that needs to be done about that.
Now, that brings me to this question. Bishop Kyogora Magambo, a media house owner, says it's something the audience is yearning for, and these quacks are giving it, while the professional journalists are not. Now, this, of course, now is based on social media because they pick these presenters from their social media following. How can mainstream media, how can media houses balance between numbers and credibility of content that goes out on air?
Most of the media houses have been able to embrace social media. They are even having Facebook channel. They are able to go on air because most of people are not able to sit desktop, watch TV, or sit next to radio and watch. But if you are going to have them, stuck on Facebook and you're able to reach out on them, it's happening quite well. Most media houses have done it, and I'm most hoping that you have embraced it. Anytime there's breaking news, most media houses have their own journalists specifically for online journalism to be able to break that particular news item immediately. And before they even go to the prime time, already the news has gone to the audience.
Well, I'm laughing here.
Sammy,
I'm laughing. And before you ask me a question,
can media houses really balance between numbers and credibility that goes on air?
Well, they can.
They can.
In fact, the biggest problem
that's
what I was saying. Right. Allow me to respond, because I was laughing as Buhere was talking about it. Because when you have, and I'm not going to name names, when you have one of your students who is in school right now, twerking to make a name, and now she feels she's a celebrity, she tends to forget that she is a professional, she is being taught certain things. The biggest problem that we are having as a country is that we've allowed, like you've said, social media to set the agenda for us as the media. Because the moment we decided that the best issues to discuss in a breakfast show is sex, that is where the biggest problem, that is most of our breakfast shows are basically talking about sex left, right, center. You cannot even listen to some of those shows with your kids in the car. It's that bad. So once we agreed to go that direction, that's where we went wrong. We allowed, and I know sometimes we need our audiences to set the agenda for us because we need them, and we need to have polls that back us to show that we have listenership. But I go back to when I was growing up. People might laugh about the way KBC was doing things, but it shaped us for who we were.
Definitely.
The types of programming they had, the so-called, even like I could tell you the whole lineup for Sunday, from Saturday and Sunday, because I was looking forward to certain programs, certain issues, and also vetting of the shows. What happened to Watershed Hours? Even now we talk about Watershed Hours, but they're not functional.
Who has let their guard down?
Maybe it's still on the same, even understanding the audience psychology.
Yes.
Why would you play reggae in the morning at 6 o'clock? They are playing a lot of reggae in the morning. You know those days of Sandona? Early morning when you go to school, they would play for
melodies.
us. Yes, and all that. So we're having a problem. We're having a problem. So the issue of sensational talks
But
in the
media
morning.
owners are saying that is what their audience wants.
But then we have the top cop, you see, is
that's
complaining.
bringing the
And the
numbers.
top cop is complaining.
Sammy talked of numbers, Sammy talked of revenue.
True.
Media owners say, well, you say what you want to say, but that's what is paying people.
But then
It's a big risk.
It's a huge risk.
Yes,
Very,
yeah.
very big.
But we have the moderator, and that's why Dr. is complaining.
Yes.
He's saying he's complaining, and we work under specific rules and regulations.
They're actually cutting costs by doing that. I want to believe that you could still have your social media people, but have them trained so that even the news they're churning out has some quality or has some touch of a professional, as opposed to news that is just picked and bam, there it is. You have to, viewer discretion is not there. You just have to find out for yourself. And once you have viewed it, you cannot undo. It's devastating.
In fact, I also want to talk about how many regulators we have, because that's also a problem in itself.
Oh, yes.
We have KFCCB, we have the Media Council, we have Communications Authority.
Yes,
all these people trying to regulate the media. It gets confusing at sometimes, because we need to know that from where I sit, if I commit scene A, B, C, D, I have the Media Council's Complaints Commission that is supposed to go to me. We just saw the other day Communication Authority coming in and giving hefty fines to a media house. And the question is coming back, then what's the role of the Media Council of Kenya? What's the role of the Complaints Commission at the Media Council of Kenya? We've seen instances where the Kenya Film Classification Board has also overstepped. So we are at a point where we also need to have all these regulators merged, so that we can know who sets the rules, who should we conform to, who should come and tell us as an industry that if you do this, you're going the wrong direction. If you do this, this is the right thing for you to do.
Your license is taken back,
exactly.
for example.
So right now, I don't even know who regulates me and who doesn't, because we'll also have another person coming in tomorrow with other fines. We don't know.
Judith, where do we draw the line on freedom of expression and freedom of the press?
Freedom of expression is good to the extent that you are free to express yourself, but do not say something or do not express yourself in a way that interferes with the right of another individual. While at the same time, freedom of the press is where they should be able to freely articulate whatever is happening in the society with unbiased opinions. Yes, so there's really need to balance the two. So where freedom, I cannot say that where freedom of expression ends. Actually, in some cases they go hand in hand. But there's really, it is very important to actually balance, because when you fail to balance, that's where there's no boundaries. Anyone can say anything and get away with it. People can get hurt. It is very costly.
But haven't we seen some of the media houses are apologizing later on or being taken to court for having done XYZ? So it's very important to get to know where do we stop and where do we start and where do we stop. It's very important, because if all people who have been affected took a step, then we'll be in trouble. he'll be in trouble. We have seen people paying a lot of money through court fines and all that. So it's very important to get to know where we are.
And perhaps just to add on his point, when it comes to issues of reporting, like say when you are reporting an issue that pertains to a minor, an issue that pertains to someone whose rights have been taken away or infringed, there's that policy that you're supposed to protect their image. You're supposed to protect their face because they have a life to live after that. Sometimes we see on TV that a child has been denied the right to get to school, or a child did this, or a child was defiled, and their face is shown on TV.
Yes,
we have spent time to actually train people. Do not do this. This child has a life after this, but this continues to happen. I've not heard of any media house that has been fined, and I wait to hear to see if that will happen.
Or high graphical images.
Media houses get fined.
Oh,
They
I
do.
didn't know. I don't see that.
They do.
Oh,
They get fined. They get fined.
actually, even
Oh.
these.
Then when they find them, they should make them so public that everybody knows, so that we are able to point out whenever we see a case of violation. We say that case, that child
But
was
there
violated.
must be someone to
we
complain.
know where to report.
There must be someone to
Yes,
complain. You can't-
accountability.
There must be someone to complain. Otherwise, if there will be nobody complaining, it goes without. It goes like that.
Yeah,
And that's why I
you're
spoke
right.
about having so many regulators, because that's where the problem. Do you know about a media council's complaints commission, for example, and you're a lawyer?
I don't.
See, so that's where the problem comes in, because we need to be telling people, in case you have a problem with the media, there is a certain structure that you need to follow. There is this complaints commission that is set in the constitution, actually, that is supposed to be that bridge between the audience and the media and government, and like the media itself and the government. So basically, we are also failing ourselves, and that's why I was saying we need to know who's this regulator that is supposed to regulate us. We have so many at the moment. They all have their different rules, and at the end of the day, it will not help for as long as we have so many people that are holding a whip. Even in a school, in an institution, you
With
knew
the
that yes,
headmaster.
there was a headmaster, but then the disciplinary master was the deputy.
Deputy principal. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Let's take feedback. Especially on radio, there are no journalists but comedians, but they are famous anyway. If we continue taking untrained people, TV will start taking socialites rather than journalists. Almasi Felix says from Kisii, journalism should be done on air. There are more people outside who have talents, and when you look at their background, you cannot follow them. You cannot follow the trail back to school. Quacks do not have the required knowledge, skill, or qualification, but they pretend to be professionals. Consequence of quackery in journalism is public misinformation, which can lead to ignorance, hatred, division, conflicts, and all other unimaginable things among the society. It's pathetic. This is John Java Kiania, a news reporter. Penina Safari from Dropper says, but for the meantime, they Nembo, they finish high school, they're saying they think it will be better if people are trained in the media houses and not schools.
Now, maybe it's important to get to know. Do media houses have clinics? Clinics say on a particular day you meet your journalists and you have a breakfast briefing on issues of ethical issues and all that. Do you have clinics?
We do, but
we used to
not-
have clinics sometimes in
I think
KBC
in
before.
KBC.
Yes,
People
on
do,
every
but not-
Wednesday.
Do they do it as often as they should be doing it?
Well, they don't, and also there's a reason why I really kept on insisting on the issue of specialization, and the reason why I was sticking to that particular point was because the main reason why we don't have topical shows is because we have journalists who are doing everything. Most media houses let go of the more specialized, the more experienced journalists, because they are very expensive to maintain for younger ones that are coming from colleges who are being forced to do everything. Look at the quality of stories that we are seeing in our newspapers every single day. Look at the reports that we are watching on the news, in TV, in radio. When you look at scripts, like right now, I'm working for an organization that is basically training journalists on reporting on gender and human rights issues. These are issues that people are supposed to know naturally. As in, like, if, like right now we were having a discussion just yesterday, and one of the things that people were saying is we assume that women know women's issues. They are the best people to report about women, but we are starting to realize now women have no interest in their own issues. And it is rather unfortunate. So basically that assumption that if I give this lady a show to talk about gender issues, then they will be the best person to be able to front that. We are learning it's not the right way to go. It's all about now realizing, okay, this person has an interest in this particular topic. train that person on how to report on that topic, allow them to do that. Ensure that when we have talk shows, and this is not just about radio, we also have talk shows that are happening on TV every single, especially the younger stations that are coming up, including Switch TV. Can we have people who are addressing issues that are affecting Kenyans on a day-to-day basis? It's not about entertainment. It's not about how people are dressing. It's not how your body looks. That is where we are going wrong.
Gender equality. Maybe we can define. Help us define gender equality.
I just want to start from the point where he speaks about a lady being given a topic of gender to speak about. I want to say that gender is not a women's issue.
Exactly.
Gender is both men and women.
Best feminists have been men. People who struggle
Well,
for
that
the
is
issues.
debatable.
Best feminists have been men, yes.
That is debatable, but gender issues are both the male and female make gender. So it's not really an entirely female's issue or female issue. Yes. So back to what your question was.
Gender equality.
Gender equality.
Define for us gender equality.
Okay, so gender equality, I'll take you back to the simplest,
Yes.
which is according to the Constitution of Kenya, which says that nobody shall be discriminated on the basis of sex alone. By sex, I mean gender, not So you should not be treated differently based on the fact that you are a woman or you are a man. And these days it gets complicated because we do not have just men and women. There are other binaries in between.
Transgender.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So we are trying to be as accommodative as possible. So now even when we say it's not about a men or women's issue, we need to add those groups as well because it is a developing
Is
concept.
this race, to achieving gender equality, pitting men against women or women against men?
Absolutely. I think it does. Just the other day, someone shared a video in my work WhatsApp group where a female beat a man because his wife was pregnant and was pulling a trolley and she fell and the man was very busy WhatsApping his friends.
Sure.
And I laughed. We laughed when we saw that. But one of the gentlemen in the group said, but why are you laughing? This is gender-based violence. So we are like, when it is men, people laugh. But when it is women, people say, oh, well, yeah, where did she beat? What happened? So we really need to look at this issue in a bigger context, in a wider context of both male and female. Yes.
Buhari, how can the media help address this issue of gender equality?
We have, of course, we through programming. There are some particular programs that can be structured specifically for that, and be able to probably to do specific research and be able to articulate issues concerning gender equality. That is the best way we can go about it. Yes.
For
But
example,
the beginning
just
is where
just
the
to
beginning
add-
is where you started.
Yes.
Because one of the key things we're also trying to talk about is that gender is not just about women, and where we go. In fact, why even legislation fails when you talk about the 2/3 gender rule in
yes.
Parliament, the affirmative action. The reason why it's failing is it's always been seen to be a women's
Women, yeah.
issue, and again, that's a very big problem. I want to talk about your own Law Society of Kenya at the moment, and this is to the men out there because this is where we are headed. The council has 13 council members. Out of 13, 10 are ladies, only 3 are men. So basically, we need to start addressing gender from that perspective, that it is wholesome. In the next maybe 10 years, once we have our ladies realizing that they are the majority of voters in this country, we will have more women representation in parliament than we will have men. And this 2/3 gender rule now will look important at that point because we will be fighting for survival as men.
And on that note, I would like to share something that I've experienced
And
over
these are your
time.
final thoughts, Judith.
Yes. I started teaching in 2010 at a university level, and the number of girls or women in my class have grown over time to the extent that in some cases you find just 2 boys or 2 men in a class of 200, 2 men in a class of 20.
Surprisingly,
And
even where
there's need to
Final
balance.
thoughts, Buhari?
we should be able to, one, if you are going to hire any untrained journalist, try as much as you can to look for some time, spend some money, invest in this person, take him to a media school, say a short program. You can do an evening program or weekend program. Take them through the requirements of being a good journalist. Otherwise, we are heading to the wrong direction. It's very important to train these people on how to go about it. Because apparently, you are a comedian, for instance. You have a following. You are a brand, but you do not know how to handle the following that you have. It's important for media houses like you to take these people out from the industry, train them, take them to KMC, take them to these media schools for at least 9 months or 1 year.
Final thoughts?
we might train, but when it comes to issues of ethics, it's personal. Let's not lie to each other that you'll go to, yes, you'll be taught about journalism ethics, for example, but if your mind is evil, if you're ill-mannered, if you speak a certain way, those are ethos that cannot be taught in school. If you do victim shaming, for example, of somebody who was thrown off a building, that can never be taught in any school. So guys, let's stop hiding in training and also talk about our upbringing, our behaviors as a society.
And let media house not have fixations.
have
let them
not
not let them not have fixations. Because if there was no complaint,
Yes.
we would not be talking about this.
True.
If nobody complained, especially from the corporate world, we will not be talking about this.
On our quote of the day, journalism can never be silent. That is its greatest virtue and its greatest fault. It must speak and speak immediately, while the echoes of wonder, the claims of triumph, and the signs of horror are still in the air. By Henry Granold. The views described in the show are strictly individual views and do not portray the views of Switch TV. Many thanks for watching. The conversation continues next Thursday. I am Lincoln Mbogo. Our sign language interpreters have been Michael, Matthew, and Teresia Washida. Good evening.